Thank you, gentlemen and guns. Coming.
Hey guys, new podcast, and it's a great one. So sit back and enjoy. But first, real quick, I want to go through some dates I got coming up. Pasadena Ice House, February 12th. 2 shows, 7 o'clock and an 8 o'clock. Nope.
8 and 10.
8 and 10. Thank you, Leanne. That's why you're here. I am at Sioux City Hard Rock Casino the 17th of February, Omaha, Nebraska, 18th through 20th. Then off to Vancouver for the Just for Laughs at the Rio Theater, I think is the name of it.
I think that's right.
The 21st. And then Columbus, Ohio is my Call in Sick to Work show. I want to thank everyone who came out to D.C. It was a sold-out show. I want to thank Brent Morin and Jason Collings for coming out. It was insane. So if you're in Columbus, if you're near Columbus, come out. I will go do radio. I will drink on radio. I will go right to the club, and we will do a noon show, and we will day drink. And it's St. Patty's Day, so you do not have to go to work. So come day drink with me. It's the brand new Columbus. Did I say Cincinnati or Columbus?
I don't know.
It's Columbus. It's Columbus Funny Bone. So that's it. And I got more dates. Go to BertBertBert.com. If you're new to this podcast, take 2 seconds. I have some great podcasts that I've just posted, and I have some even better ones coming up. So rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast. It literally takes 2 seconds, but it means the biggest deal for a show like this because word gets out, and it goes to the top of the charts because you've rated and reviewed and subscribed it, and then new people see, oh, Bert's talking to today's guest, who's a beast. Oh, you done with my read?
No.
Oh, what are you rolling your eyes
I
at?
just got a text.
Oh, God. Who's the text from?
From Andrew.
Oh, really?
It's all good.
Okay.
All good.
Okay. Today's read, we were going to try to incorporate my daughters into it because the truth is, our sponsor for today's podcast sent a very nice gift over so we could sample the product.
Yes.
And then talk about how great it was.
Yes.
But my daughters ate it. And I thought it would be funny to have them on the podcast.
It was funny.
It was funny, but it was not what you want to hear.
No.
Here's this is an excerpt right here.
I love Carrie's berries. They're like awesome. I die for them. These were for me. These were gonna be for me.
What about me?
What about me? They were my advertisement. I was gonna do this.
It's my podcast.
Tell him.
It's my podcast. It was supposed to be for me.
It was so good.
And there was one more flavor. Do you remember?
No, there were just 3.
Oh, there were?
Yeah, there are 4 of 3. There are 12.
You're right.
Mona.
This ad's driving me nuts. Leanne, who's our sponsor this week?
Our sponsor this week is Sherry's Berries. We got an awesome dozen of...
I'm fucking losing my mind right now. All right. Go ahead, Leanne, quickly.
The wheels have come off.
I'm going to have to edit this fucking down. And that spiraled into dog barking, it was just a fucking nightmare.
Into naked booties, into screaming. It was insane.
But the truth is...
but they love the Sherry's Berries.
Sherry's Berries, they've sent them over, and the girls loved them. Apparently, there's no stems on them, so the girls were losing their mind that you could just pop the whole thing in your mouth. The strawberries are super in season, so they are literally taste like candy, wrapped in candy, and they were all gone. By the time I got off the road, they were all gone, and the girls love them. And this is great for Valentine's Day, which is coming up. So if you're at a loss for a Valentine's Day gift, this is where you go. Go to Sherry's Berries.
Go to berries.com.
Go to berries.com.
BERRIES.
Go to BERRIES.com.
Yes. And click on the microphone.
Yeah.
And enter the code BC. And what that gets you is a dozen chocolate dipped strawberries is $19.99 with that code. But you can add another dozen for only $10 more. So you can get 2 dozen really for the price of like 1.5. It's pretty good.
Yeah, and there's 4. It's like chocolate dip, dark chocolate, white chocolate.
Let me talk about it because I ate them too.
Oh, God.
They were dark chocolate with chocolate chips, milk chocolate with walnuts, and white chocolate with chocolate swirl. And they were fabulous.
Really?
Yes, they are picked at the peak of perfection. They are so good. They're juicy. You know, it just was it's great pre-Valentine's Day for me because we got it this past week. But you should go online and order them now for the weekend.
Do that right now. Do that right now because this will avoid you getting Saturday afternoon going, shit, I didn't get anything for Valentine's Day.
Exactly.
Just do it right now. Do it right now. Order Sherry's Berries. Use the click the microphone. Use the code BC and get 2. And you know what? Grab your buddy and go, don't worry, I got you covered. Send one to your mom.
Right? Send one to your mom.
Yeah, I'm sending them. I'm going to order one for Leanne and one for the girls for Valentine's Day, and I'm going to try them.
Love it. They're so good. I think this is the first time you've been home for Valentine's Day in a long time.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Yeah. Sherry's Berries.
Berries.com.
Berries.com.
Oh, I almost forgot. I meant to say, go to Bertcast.com and buy a Bertcast mug. They're pretty cool. I like them. They have the emblem, the Bertcast emblem on them. They're awesome mugs. So please, go to Bertcast.com and check out our merchandise.
Today's guest, it is I'm going to say a pleasure and an honor to have on the podcast. He is a guy that kind of revolutionized the business that is podcasting. He is a forerunner in content, I believe. The way he looks at this business is there are very few people looking at it that way, and I will say that that it's the way I look at it now. My first TV show, I worked on the lot with him. We're going to talk about that. And he's someone that I always wondered if he didn't like me. And it turns out I don't think he knew me. It was a great podcast. And I got to be honest with you, I got more coming down the line. I don't know what mojo I got coming my way, but with Titus a couple weeks ago, I got Joey. Louis J. Gomez is coming over tomorrow morning. Patton Oswald, Pete Holmes. We have some really big ones coming up. But no one gets bigger in podcasting than this gentleman. It is my honor to introduce to you from a man that needs no introduction, Adam Carolla.
This is the Bertcast.
Good to meet you, man.
Good to see you.
Did you drink last night?
A little bit.
I appreciate you doing this, man.
My pleasure.
I feel like you've been in a weird way like a instrumental part of my career. Do you
really?
Do you feel like do you know how you'd know me at all?
No. I mean, I know your name, but I don't know how I've been instrumental in your career.
So my first TV show I ever got was The X Show.
Oh, The X Show.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, and so and you and Jimmy were on the same lot as us.
Right, I remember that. And
if I'm not mistaken, The X Show was stolen concept from The Man Show.
Well, sorry, I'm eating a lozenge.
Don't worry.
Yeah, what had happened is we did The Man Show as like an ABC pilot, and then they rejected it, and they went with Cupid, starring Jeremy Piven.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm gonna put together a long list of TV shows that went on the air before or instead of many pilots and shows I've done, like Accidentally on Purpose with Jenna Elfman and stuff like that. But anyway, so then we did the show and we did the pilot, and ABC didn't want to put it on, so we took it to Comedy Central, I think, and then Comedy Central wanted to put it on, and then I think Fox or FX or whatever it was wanted to do it as well, but we said to them, well, it's kind of between Comedy Central and FX, and we just think we're going to go with Comedy Central. And then FX went, oh, okay, go ahead. And then they came out with The X Show a week before we came out. And then it was sort of like, oh, you guys are ripping off The X Show, at least in terms of you guys came out first.
Yeah.
And we're like, well, I think they're just ripping off our idea and getting it out there first.
Yeah.
Which is smart, I guess. Sort of how this town works. I never. It's a weird thing. I never give stuff much thought. I just sort of like, all right, well, they'll do their show, and then we'll do our show, and then.
But you guys had a distaste for the X show. I felt like that was the word on the street when I got there. They were like, because my friend Jordan Rubin was a writer on the Man Show,
right?
And I remember hearing about the Man Show, and I remember hearing they were taking submissions for the Man Show.
Yeah,
and
it's weird. Jimmy's got a lot more of that in him than I do.
Really?
Well, I think it's called caring or pride or something. It's like when we stopped doing the Man Show and they went on and did season 5 without us.
Yeah.
I didn't really have any feelings about that either.
Really?
No. It's sort of weird that I didn't. Jimmy's a much more. He would have been a better member of the mafia than me, because I didn't have any of this like family or ownership or anything. I just sort of like, well, we did 100 episodes and now we're leaving, and if they want to do 100 episodes more of the Man Show without us, so be it.
Yeah.
I think Jimmy was more like, hey, that's our show. What are they doing?
You always seem to have, like, I always felt like you had the perspective of, and I apologize if this is incorrect, but of like, I'm grateful to be here. I could be putting roofs on houses.
Yeah, I had like I had some of that mixed with just, look, let's show up, let's get paid, let's go home, let's die. It's kind of.
You're like my dad, eat shit and cash checks.
Right. And that sort of was my approach to it. The only thing I really remember is during that little episode when it was weird, which was we pitched our show to FX, and then FX came out with their show before us, and then they ripped our show off kind of thing. And then it seemed like we were ripping them off because we came out second. But I remember at some point somebody at the X show got like a long, shitty email from me, allegedly. But the thing that was comical is I can't type, spell, and I never knew how to even email anybody back then, especially back then.
Yeah.
So
emails back then were, you really had to be a computer person to be sending emails.
Yeah, and so it was comical. It was comical because there was this like hubbub that like, oh, Adam sent this scathing email to whoever, and everyone who knew me knows that Adam doesn't know how to turn on a computer. So that was that's the only really thing I remember out of that time period. But I was always just like, well, we'll do a show, they'll do a show, and
my recollection was, and I came in late. I felt like I'd heard one time I'd done a radio show, and my name had come up to you, and about the X show, and you said, no, he was like one of the good Nazis. He was like,
well, I never, I it's a weird thing, but I never really, when I say one of the good Nazis, I mean like, there is a thing in life where you're just around, and somebody like says, put on this uniform, and here's a gun, and you need to guard the gate so the Jews can't get out, and if you don't, we'll just shoot you. And I don't really feel like those people need to be blamed for World War II. That's just like kind of a situation.
Yeah.
It's sort of, for me, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know that I would do anything any differently. Like, I'm not so proud that I would have went, you know what, I'll take a bullet before I would have been like, oh, yes, sir.
Yeah.
And like if I was looking for a job back then and somebody offered me a job as a host on a TV show, I would have done it.
Yeah, sure. I was 26 years old. I was like, fuck, yeah, I'll take a show.
Yeah.
And it was funny because we were both on the same lot.
Yeah, that was weird. And also Loveline was on that lot as well when it was on MTV. So everything I did was on that lot. Sunset Gower? Hollywood Center.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hollywood Center Studios. Yeah.
Yeah, everything I did was on that lot at the for the first whatever part of whatever career I had.
It's so funny. I feel like my career's mirrored your career in so many manners because I did the X show and then did stand-up. And then when you left Loveline, they were looking to recast it. And they brought in Joel McHale. Mm-hmm. I think I want to say they brought in Kyle Cease. I'm not certain. But they brought in a bunch of guys. And I just randomly came in from the road, and I did it with Dr. Drew. For the first time, I just did it. Wasn't testing. I just did it to fill in.
Right.
And I told the story that I'm now famous for, my machine story. I told it on that night to Dr. Drew. And then all of a sudden my name got in the mix for doing it. And I would say, and tell me if you agree with this, would you say that you on Loveline, that period of what was like 10 years? Mm-hmm. That you on Loveline on that radio, would you say that was your sweet spot? Like is that the best representation of all of your talents and combined into one?
I think that's a good probably way to couch it. I liked improv. I liked psychology. I liked hearing problems and trying to solve them. And I liked discussing that with Dr. Drew. I always kind of, I never really dreamt of being a stand-up, and I never really dreamt of being an author, and I never really dreamt of being an actor or doing a TV show. My goal or my fantasy, if I even thought about it back in the day, I guess would be just me in a room with a microphone that was just sort of blasting out to, parts unknown and sharing like jokes and wisdom and doing it, having and not being teamed with another comedian, but being teamed with just a thinker, somebody who had a base, was interesting and was from a different world than I was from and had a different skill set and so on and so forth. And just showing up in my, flip-flops and sweatpants at 10 o'clock at night and just sitting in this windowless room while the city sort of slept and just talked into this mic. Like that is kind of what I wanted out of life. I never really wanted to be on TV. I didn't want to watch myself. I didn't want to have makeup applied to my face or hair goo or go out and pick out wardrobe or get a fitting or something like that. I just wanted to sit and talk into a mic.
Yeah.
And I wanted people just to be driving along their highway in their car at 10:30 at night and just hear my voice coming through the speaker. That's all I ever really wanted.
I would say I'm a big fan of radio. And I think that naturally leads into podcasting, but that period was the best radio I've ever heard. Me and my buddy Lorenzo he was a photographer. We'd drop off his proofs at night just so we could hear you and Drew put people on hold and go, let me guess, she was molested.
Right.
I mean, why did you leave?
Why did I leave? Howard Stern, I think. There was a couple things that were going on. I think it was like the last year, Dr. Drew and I were always sort of what they call favored nations. We always just got paid the same. Mm-hmm. And it started off in one city, I think, and we maybe grew to over 100 cities. And
so as it grows, you're making more money?
Yeah, we got paid more, and the ratings were really good everywhere, but they never the Loveline team, as it were, producers, engineers, phone screeners, program directors, they're never really a fan of mine.
Are you shitting me?
No, they never. They didn't laugh. They didn't. They didn't seem to really. I guess would be
Are you serious?
Not at all. Not at all. They didn't appreciate anything that I did.
The
really.
ratings are going through the roof, and they literally are just like, I don't fucking get it.
Yeah, I think I mean, they wouldn't verbally say that to me, but I'd go meet with my program director like once every other month or something, and he'd literally just say, like, stop talking. Just, like, you're talking too much. Like, you got to roll phone calls. You got to roll calls. You're taking, 3 calls an hour. You should be taking 35 calls an hour. Just boom, boom, boom. Get through it. Like, stop it.
Yeah.
Stop while you're talking. You're talking too much. You got to get phone calls. And so I would always just kind of go, yeah, all right. And then I just go right back and just do whatever I wanted to do. And I think they were a little frustrated with the fact that I would never do radio's about rolling phone calls, like get those phone calls rolling.
Really?
It is. It's about cadence. And I never really subscribed to that. I was just like, and they'd be like, you did one call, and it was 17 minutes. That's insane. You're supposed to be like 90 seconds max, And I'd go, well, it was interesting to me, or whatever.
17-minute phone call. I'd be fucking parked waiting I would not be getting out of the car listening to that one phone call.
Well, they didn't like it. And at a certain point, they said my last year, I think of Loveline, they said, look, we'll pay. It's a weird thing. I don't know why I don't know how they figured this one out, but Drew and I were both making like, I don't know, $950,000 a year or something each. And then we got to the next contract, and they said, okay, here's what we're going to do. Drew is going to remain unchanged. He will get his $972,000 a year or something. You, Adam, you're going to get $250,000. And I was like, really? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, oh, you want me to leave? And they're like, no, we'll pay Drew 3.5 times as much as you. And I was like, that doesn't make sense to me. And they were like, yeah, well, that's the deal. And I said, all right. And then they started talking about Howard Stern and who's going to replace Howard Stern and blah, blah, blah. And it just sort of turned into that. And I ended up doing mornings about a year later. I did make them give them all my money back to get me even with Drew.
Yeah.
When they wanted me to sign my Howard Stern contract. I said, it's funny because my agent kept saying, you want a signing bonus, baby? And I said, no, I want the money they owe me from doing a year where I got paid a third as much as the guy I sat next to, who, by the way, wasn't there a lot of the time because he was like in New York and busy and doing stuff with Trojan condoms and stuff. And I was like, I'm here doing a show. Yeah. Drew's on the East Coast, and I'm getting paid a third as much as him. And I just want to be you got to give me the money to get me back to even with him for the last year.
God, what's wrong with LA radio? Like morning radio. Why is there no? I mean, I guess Kevin and Bean, or I've never.
They said when I left, they said we want to get somebody young, Hispanic, and funny to take your place. And I said, okay, have fun with that. And I don't know to this day if anybody over there ever attributed any success of that to me or the fact that when I left, it started just to fall off and it just kind of almost gone away now or something. I don't know that there's any correlation between me, the success of the show, and then me leaving and the lack of success of the show or whatever it is. It's never been discussed. It's never come up.
Those listeners, I feel like just translated. I mean, I'm sure you do you ever focus on your numbers or how many people listen to your episodes or why episodes do better than other ones
on
your podcast?
Yes and no. I used to. I mean, I'll read tweets where they go, "I like this guy," "We don't like this guy," or "What's this?" or just to sort of give the people what they want, kind of thing. But
you don't have like your own Libsyn account where you go, "Oh, I had 700,000 downloads on the first day. That was a good episode."
Yeah. No, we do, but I don't really attribute it to good episode, bad episode, this guest, that guest. It doesn't really seem, by the way, it also, it doesn't seem to have, there doesn't seem to be a direct correlation between having Kevin Costner on as a guest.
Seriously?
Yeah, versus some unknown comic in terms of numbers.
Well, two of my best friends are obsessive about your podcast. And like one of the guys was my DP, so on the road, he'd always put on your podcast on like late night drives. He'd be driving. And your podcast is in the same sense as Bill Burr's or as Joe's. It doesn't matter who you have on. People tune in every episode.
Yeah, I'd like to think that it's a little more about me and my voice or whatever's going on in my life, and that the guest is a good thing to have, and it's nice to have reoccurring stuff, and it's nice to have guys who you enjoy working with and improvising with and stuff like that. But it's sort of secondary, I guess. Like if you like Modern Family, you like Modern Family, and there'll be people that'll be guests on episodes, but it's not going to make you watch or not watch.
This episode for me will be through the roof because your name will be in it.
Thank you. I know I cannot think of myself like one way or the other in almost any facet of life. It's like, I remember I did the marriage ref with Donald Trump, and he like showed up and he was slapping me on the back and he was saying, "This is going to be the best episode. He said, you trust me, wait till those ratings come in. You're going to see this number one. This can be the number one." And I just remember thinking, why? And first off, I'm on it. How good could it be? And then secondly, it was me, him, and Gloria Estefan, not exactly the, dynamic comedy trio. And but I just remember sort of thinking like, wow, must be nice to kind of be that way.
Yeah.
I mean, it also sounds like a little bit of a calorie burner, but I mean, like walking around everywhere just announcing it's going to be number one, this is going to be the greatest, this is going to be fantastic. But I'm always just sort of like, we'll do it, and then it'll just turn into something that we vaguely remember doing at some point.
How did the podcast? You are probably one of the earlier developers of the business paradigm of podcasting. How did did you literally have to sit and think that out? And there's weird things that is like folklore that I don't know is if they're true or not. But like, is Jimmy a part of this partnership, or does Jack Hole still exist?
Yeah, I guess we do exist. We're not. We've been not doing a lot of projects. I mean, what happened? Jimmy and I used to, do shows, and Jack Hole used to do shows, and then Jimmy got a job in show business. It's like one of those weird full-time show business jobs that doesn't exist in other forms of show business. Like, you're going to New York and do a play for 7 weeks, but then you come back, or you go out on the road and you do some dates and then you come back, or you go do we would go do the Man Show and then we'd go into hiatus, and then we go do Crank Yankers, or we go into hiatus, or whatever it is. But Jimmy, I was at his house yesterday.
So you guys still hang out?
I just snuck in. I like to watch him sleep.
It's such an interesting dynamic because
He works full time. Like
he's no, I wouldn't say I don't know Jimmy. I've done stand up on his show, but I don't know him. But you'd imagine it's impossible for him not to have changed somewhat, becoming someone who hangs out with every of the biggest movie stars nightly. And you still seem like it was the interesting dynamic of that movie that you did. You still seem like a guy who's you seem unchanged. You seem 100% totally unchanged. And I'm not saying that Jimmy seems changed. So I always wondered, like, that friendship that you guys had during the Man Show, did it maintain? Are you guys still like 100% honest with each other? Is it,
Well, it's the reality is when we first met, I was, I had no kids, I had no wife, I had no life. Jimmy had a wife that he probably didn't like spending a lot of time with, and it was just any excuse for us to go out and eat lunch and talk about what could be. That's all it was. Like, we could do this one day, we could do that one day. We both saw that in each other, and now the reality is I got kids, he's got a new kid, he's got a new wife, and he's got to get up every day and go somewhere.
Yeah.
And I was at his house watching the Super Bowl. I was at his house for Christmas Eve. I was, we go out to dinner and stuff like that. But the reality is I live over there. He lives over here. He's got kids. I got kids. And we both have these crazy schedules. And it's just it's sort of like life. It's like your buddy from high school, and then all of a sudden you get married, and then you move away, and it's like you still look at him as your buddy from high school, but you can't physically go sit and have lunch every single day. Like Jimmy and I would just go out to lunch every day. There wasn't anything to do, and we enjoyed each other's company so much. But now it's a different relationship. He works full time, I work full time, and I'm happy to say that, it's like my kids call him Uncle Jimmy. And when we were driving over to his house for the Super Bowl, my daughter was like, this is the second time we've been to Jimmy's place in a month. And I hope Jimmy's got this, and I hope so-and-so's there. And, his, nephews and kids and, blah, blah. His cousin Ivy, is she going to be there? And it's a nice family. Jimmy's very family oriented.
I worked with his sister, and it
Jill.
Yes, Jill, and she was just talking about him, and I was like, I'd never seen him in other than the veneer of sitting behind a desk.
He's super family oriented and super gracious. And he's like one of these guys. He's just kind of better than we are in the sense that you get I got him like a custom cheese board or something for Christmas. Here's the thing. It's like me and my wife are so fucked up that here's the difference between me and my wife and Jimmy and his wife.
Yeah.
It was 2 days before we were heading, or maybe the day before we were heading over to Jimmy's house for Christmas Eve. And, of course, my wife's like announces we're going to do a Christmas card every year. And then I have to tell her Christmas was 2 days ago. And she'll go, well, then it'll be a holiday card. And I'll go, all right. And then we'll never take that picture.
Yeah.
So we bought a gift for Jimmy. Jimmy has a barn that he just built, and we did this. I bought him this barn thing. He likes to throw parties. He can put cheese out or something. And my wife said, look, there is a custom hardwood thing where you can have the shit engraved, and it'd be funny for Jimmy's barn, and you could put Jimmy's name on it and put it out, and you could put cheese on it or whatever. And I said, fine. How long is it? What's the lead time? And the lead time's like 5 weeks, And so, long story short, we go over there and hand him a piece of paper that says you're going to get this wood platter somewhere in the future with your initials on it. And then
not the gravitas you were hoping for.
No, well, like I said, we're not really on our game, but from him we get in the mail. I mean, I think I got this really cool pie of the month thing, but I get this card that is like his stationery with his wife doing like a short soliloquy on how much we're looking forward to getting this cheese board one day. And then Jimmy writes under it like, hey, thank you for the generous gift. We've not received it, but we look forward to, blah, blah. And it's like, that's how much better they are than we. We get a thank you card, handwritten thank you card. They didn't even receive shit. and we can't even get together like a holiday email. Like, so he's just one of those guys.
Yeah.
Like, he's just, I don't know where, I don't know. It's like you have to, I grew up like a feral cat. Like, people have to tell me, when your food comes, don't start eating it. You got to wait for the other people at the restaurant who you're sitting with. They got to wait for them to get their food. Like, I'd be like eating and talking and using the wrong fork. And, it's like these weird things. Like, then the woman would show up and you'd see the guy standing up and I'd still be eating, my stuff with my elbows poking out and everything. And Jimmy just grew up like with manners and civility, and he's just more evolved or something. I don't know what it is. It's a weird combination.
Yeah.
Like, his favorite game to play is Scrabble, and I've never played a game of Scrabble in my life because I can't spell.
I'm dyslexic. I have a hard time with Scrabble. It gives me anxiety as I start playing.
It gives me anxiety thinking about playing because I've never even played Scrabble.
Yeah. When you came up with doing the podcast and starting this pirate ship of yours, did you run it by Jimmy? Did you guys do this? I'd always heard that he was a partner in this.
No, I just sort of realized that when the radio show ended, I'd never been out of communication with my audience, whatever that audience was in my mind. So it's like,
yeah, in a weird way, that's the whole thing about like vlogging and podcasting is you do it daily and you start a dialogue with people who want to hear it daily.
Yeah. And so I've never been out of contact with whoever wanted me to be in contact with them for, this had been now, 14, 15 years of nonstop contact. And so my feeling was, when my radio show ends, I'll just start doing this just to keep in contact with people who want to keep in contact. And I didn't really think about it much past that. I just thought if you are used to listening to me, then you may continue listening to me. It'll just be in this slightly different format, and that's that.
This is going to sound. I already know your answer. There's like 9 questions I have for you that I know that I'm not allowed to ask people, but like I'm still stuck on $950,000. By the way, did you get scared when the show got canceled? The morning show got canceled. Did you ever get like scared in this business where you're like, what do I do next? Like, what if I don't? What if no one wants to work with me again?
I did. What I had was this. See, I had this concept. I always had this concept that what would get me thrown off the air would be some action that I did. So what I'm saying is first off, I always had 3 or 4 jobs, like, simultaneously.
Yeah.
So it never was a weird – it's just, it's just this kind of thing. I guess as a human being, it's like telling a 22-year-old guy, hey, man, don't smoke because one day you're going to be 60. And they're like, fuck you, I'm 22. I'll kick your ass.
Yeah.
And I'll smoke a cigarette while I'm doing it, and you're like, hey, and, you really shouldn't eat that hot dog because that's going to catch up, your arteries are going to, and they're like, I'm fucking 22. Like,
Yeah.
what do I care? So that is, when you're 22, you're just fucking 22. Like, you look good with your shirt off, and it doesn't matter if you smoke through a hot dog. It doesn't matter. Like, but that's just your reality. And for me, when I was starting out, it was like, oh, you got a radio show, and then you got Loveline and MTV and Crank Yankers, Man Show, and whatever. And it's like, my problem was like too much shit.
Yeah.
Too many jobs, too much opportunity. And I was just sort of in the mode of, I didn't audition or I didn't try to go out. I was just like, me and Jimmy will come up with a show idea, and then we'll put it on the air.
Yeah.
And that was that. And so it came really easily. I mean, there was a lot of hard work, but I didn't realize how much we were kind of defying the odds of, people that do late night radio get paid $34,000 a year, not $900,000 a year. They have to show up and prepare and have meetings and deal with ratings and affiliates and blah, blah, blah. And all I ever did was show up 2 minutes before the show, talk for a couple hours and go home. And get great, we would be number one everywhere.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to do anything. And I mean, I had to show up, but it was all like this super easy, like people say, in UC Davis or wherever, Cal Poly somewhere, they'd go, you guys got a 50 share, like, in this, like, literally half the radios that were turned on would be listening to Loveline in, I don't know where it was, like Merced or something. I don't even know. I didn't even know the affiliates were on. Like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't, like, people would call and go, I'd go, where are you calling from? And they'd go, I'm calling from Rhode Island. And I'd go, how are you listening to the show? And they'd go, well, you've been on the air here for 3 years. And I'd go, oh, I guess it'd feel pretty shitty to the Rhode Island affiliate that I didn't even know we were on the air in Rhode Island. I every time someone would call from like Detroit or something, I'd go, how are you listening to this? And they'd go, you're on the station.
Oh.
You're on the. So, I know I'm getting pretty out in the weeds here, but
No,
life was easy. Like, I just had job after job after job after job. And then what I assumed is that one day, if I got thrown off the air, because I made some joke and pissed off some Asians or something.
Yeah.
And I'd get thrown off the air. And then, of course, when I got thrown off of this station, that station would all be lining up to try to get me onto their airwaves.
Yeah.
But what I didn't anticipate is that the economy just took a big shit and there were no more jobs. So when I got thrown off the air, it wasn't because of something I did. It was just there's no more money. Like, radio is taking a big crap. The people that own the radio stations are bleeding badly, and they just figured it's a lot easier just to play music and not pay the talent and just play some Coldplay and call it a day.
Yeah.
And so then I was out of a job, and I was like looking around, and it was like, oh, there are no other jobs. There's no radio jobs. There's no TV jobs. Like, there wasn't any. There wasn't. I mean, there was, hey, you could do a pilot for this or that, but there was nothing. I did a pilot or two. It never got off the ground, and
How old were you?
I was. Well, this would have been in 8 years ago. 9. I was like 43 or something.
That's my age. And did you have kids at the time?
Yeah, I had twins that were 2 years old or something, and I remember kind of going, wow, I got used to this kind of lifestyle and kids and big house and everything, and race cars and shit like that, and I don't have a job. And not only do I not have a job, but it's like the phone's not ringing. Like, and I remember just kind of going, well, what the hell am I going to do? Because I couldn't take a job at a radio station and make $125,000 a year. That wasn't going to work. That wasn't going to cut it.
Yeah.
Like, I needed $1 million a year, and they didn't have jobs for $1 million a year anywhere. And I was sort of like, oh, what do I got to do now? And so it was like, well, write a book. How about writing a book? And I was like, okay, I can't spell. I don't play Scrabble, but I could write a book. And, we'll go tour around, do stand-up, And I'm like, I don't really have an act, And like, well, get an act and go hit the road. And so it was kind of a weird scraping together of like, oh, shit, I'm, Jimmy's off doing his TV show.
Yeah.
We're not doing Crank Yankers or Man Show or anything. The radio's all gone, and I'm not sure what to do.
What's your wife like during this time?
Because
you don't. I mean, I think
care.
Do you guys have the kind of marriage where you guys can like? Do you like?
Well, it's funny. Oh, I was funny because I said I did. No, she's I don't know what she doesn't. Her thing is like, if I said I got to go on the road and make money, she'd go fine. Or if I went, I'm not going on the road, she'd go fine.
Yeah.
Like she doesn't really. I do remember this. I said to her, I did like come home and I just said, look, I don't have a job and I got a huge monthly nut and I don't have a job. And you are going to need to be a little more financially savvy. Like you're going to have to get involved a little bit here. Like, because it ain't those days where it's just getting paycheck after paycheck and who gives a shit,
Yeah.
Like I'm going to need some help because I it's not formally, it was none, no, who cared? Like you just, look, you married a guy, he's rich, money just comes in, but I don't got any more money coming in. So I need you to get involved financially. And she said, I am involved. And I said, you are? And she said, absolutely. And I said, what's the mortgage on this house? And she said, oh, if you're going to ask trick questions, it's true. And I said, I don't really, I wouldn't consider that to be like an outlandish trick question. What's the monthly payment on this house? That was the beginning. And then she was like, well, if you're going to be a dick about it. And I was like, I'm not being a dick. But I am saying I need you to be a little more involved. And I quickly abandoned that plan and just went into, I better start making some fucking money.
Did you just sit up one night and you're like, I mean, because the only reason I make extra change every month is through my podcast. But I would never have come up with that business paradigm had not. I feel like you kind of invented it. You brought your radio.
I didn't invent anything other than it's just radio. It's just you talk. You have X amount of listeners. I mean, basically, what it is this: you have an audience. And the people that make motor oil or, flowers.com or whatever, they don't have an audience. Squarespace. They don't have an audience.
Yeah.
So they'd like to rent your audience from you the same way you'd want to put your tire company on the side of a dirigible and fly it over the Rose Bowl. Like, hey, everybody look up. So for me, I always figured if you have an audience, that is something that can be monetized because it's my audience that I have built over the course of X amount of years or I've delivered I have whatever relationship I have with them, they're there because they evidently like me and what I have to say, and I've burnt a lot of calories over the years trying to make sure they're satisfied and happy and like me as a product, and so now I can take that and I can say, okay, well you'd like to talk about your motor oil or Squarespace or whatever. Give me a few dollars and I'll share it with my audience.
Yeah,
and I don't think it's it's radio.
It did. Now, do you? You strike me as someone who doesn't say sorry very often.
I don't. I will if I accuse somebody of something, and then I don't know. I got my assistant Matt over there. I do say sorry quite a bit. Like if I say, "Hey, where's my stuff? I left it out on the front table," and then someone goes, "Nah, it's in your car," and then I'll go, "Oh, sorry." That I will.
Yep.
But I don't really apologize for thoughts that I have because I don't really say them if I don't mean them, and I don't really believe them.
Yeah.
But it's not a pride. It's not pride related.
It doesn't seem pride related. It seems that you seem like someone when you say something, you stand behind it.
I think here's the way I try to go through life. I think to myself, what is fair? I mean, there's what you want, there's what I want, and I don't want what I want. There's a lot of people that are like kids, and the kids are like, I got twins, and if you tell my daughter, look, there's one sack of M&Ms, there's 20 M&Ms in it, take 10 for yourself and give 10 to your brother, she'll go, I want 20. Yeah. And you'll go, yeah, but that's not fair to them. And they go, yeah, no, it's fair to me, and that feels fair. And if I said to her, like, well, just give them one, she'd go, that's unfair to me. And I'd go, no, it's not. You have 19. But it feels to her like I should get 20 because it's me.
Yeah.
My sort of approach to life is I'll open the sack of M&Ms. I'll take 10. I'll give you 10. And then I'll give you one more. So you can have 11 and I'll have 9. Now, if you walk away from our fictitious M&M table and go, fuck you, this is bullshit, I deserve or whatever, I'll just go, well, I know what I just did. And I know that I'm calibrated and I'm fair.
Yeah.
And I'm not asking anything that's unreasonable. As a matter of fact, we both had 10 M&Ms, and I just gave you one more. So you got one more than I do. And you can walk away and go, this is bullshit. You're an asshole. And I'll just go, that doesn't affect me at all because I know what I just did with you was super equitable and fair, and that's how I go through my life. I go through it without me being a big factor in it.
Yeah. I feel like I speak out of my ass all the time, and I don't think about what I say. I just start rattling, and it feels like you and Joe are the two people that I find most fascinating because neither of you seem to speak out of your ass. You seem to speak with intention.
I feel like I have thoughts and I want to share them with people, and I mean it, and that's why it's kind of I hate to admit it, but it's like, sometimes comedians, you say something, you piss off this group or that group, and they go, and the comedian goes, oh, come on, can't you take a joke? It's a joke. It's only a joke. And it's sort of, I wish I could say that, but it's not really, for me, it's not really a joke. I'm just saying what I say,
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it's weird. It's like, someone will go, I'll go, well, look, a mom and a dad do a better job at raising a kid than two moms or two dads, and everyone will go, oh, you don't mean that though, right? And I'll go, well, yeah, I do. It's it's not hate speak. It's just what is, you know. And they'll go, well, I mean, I could remember, like, I had gay publicists, and they were like, well, that's your opinion. And I went, no, it's just what is. Yeah. You know, it's not my opinion. It's just, it is. It's nature, you know. And then I would always say, though, like, yeah, but I'd rather I'd be raised by a gay couple than my fucking piece of shit parents, like for sure. I mean, they were horrible. Yeah. And so it's not saying that there's not a million gay couples that aren't better than my parents or yours or whoever's. It just means all things being equal, my kids get a lot more out of they get something from my wife, and they get something else from me. And it's better for them than it would be 2 men or 2 women.
If you and Jimmy were raising them.
Oh, well, see, now they would be better off with me, Jimmy, actually. They certainly would, holidays would be a lot better. That's for goddamn sure.
But like when the stuff about the females aren't funny thing came out, if I did that, and that's something I would say and on a podcast, and then people would come at me, and the next day I just wake up depressed in bed. And I'd be like, why did I say that?
Well, it was funny. I mean, the thing that's funny about it is, I was doing like a long article for, I don't even know what publication. So I don't care. I don't go get them or anything. But at the very end, the guy was talking to me about comedy or books or podcasts or whatever, and then he gets to the very end and he goes, who's funnier, men or women? And I said, oh, men are funnier. And he's like, all right. He just like took it and ran with it, you know? And my feeling was, well, I got to answer. I mean, it can't be a tie. And then the only alternative is women are funnier than men. And I don't think that's true. But I also said that, like Sarah Silverman or Kathy Griffin, they're funnier than any dude I went to high school with. Yeah. I didn't say there weren't funny women. I gave examples of women I thought were really funny. Yeah. But it just turned into something. And I was always sort of like, well, first off, what do you care what I think?
Yeah, that's an interesting way.
I gave my opinion, but that's my opinion. Then you got your opinion, and then he and she have their opinion. How is this? Why is this so threatening to you for me to have this opinion?
Yeah.
I don't get that. I don't get why everyone is threatened. I don't get why there needs to be a threat level for an opinion. And also the people that came out after me were like, well, Carolla's an unfunny buffoon. And like, okay, even less reason to listen or to give a fuck what I say. Like, he's not funny. He's a buffoon. He's an asshole. And I feel sorry for his wife and feel sorry for his daughter. And I'm always like, oh, okay. So then you really don't need to listen to the super unfunny, stupid buffoon, right? I mean, why would you need, if I'm unfunny and I'm an idiot, then it's like saying, I'm going to tell you you're bad at the guitar, but I don't play an instrument. You know what I mean? Like, why are you listening to me? Or why
asking a blind guy to do movie reviews.
Yeah, why should you be threatened by me? I'm unfunny. I'm an idiot. And I'm uneducated, and I'm a fucking asshole. So what difference does it make?
Yeah.
I never got that part of life.
I know we got to wrap this up, but I want to talk. I'm curious. I think what you've done in this is the thing that I'm in therapy. I always talk to my therapist about what I want: creating your own content, making your own content, and being able to do whatever you want to do. I think that's the future of this business. I think this is where everything's going. I see everyone scrambling. And is how do you create your projects? Like, I know you got the Paul Newman documentary. Do you just like walking through the office? You're like, hey, you know what I'd like to do? And you kind of put it on Matt's plate, and then Matt goes, like, hey, I've got like 9 options. Let's sit. And then you have like a meeting where everyone that works here sits down. Or do you? Because I can't imagine you write a 1-page for it, but like,
no, I don't know.
I mean, because you've done 2 movies, you have 4 books, right?
Yeah,
You have this documentary on Paul Newman coming out. Or is it out?
Yeah,
it's out. Like, how does someone? Because I feel like I identify with you. I think a lot of comics identify with you. We don't like to sit behind a computer and type things out and write things out. We have good ideas, and we like to talk, and we like to do what we like to do. How do you do it? How, like, literally, I'm almost like, how do you make the cake?
Yeah, I had this conversation with my wife actually the other day.
Who, by the way, is so much fucking hotter than she needs to be.
I know.
Like, I really wanted you to be married to like a 6.
I think she knows. She's sweet. She's a really nice person, but she's like kind of laid back, you know. And I'm like, look, the only way to travel through this life is to have. I have this sort of theory. I mean, I'll try to put it into words here, but you can sort of stand in the bakery of life and just stand there. But if you don't pull that ticket, even if that ticket says $999 on it, and you hear the guy get on the thing, he's like, number three, and you're $999. But if you don't pull the ticket, you'll just perpetually be standing in that bakery, and you'll never get your fucking cookies or your muffins. Yeah. And so everyone else's kind of approach is like, well, you just pulled the ticket, but they're on number 3, and yours says $999 on it. And I'm like, just as long as you pull the ticket, then you have it. Now, I need you to pull like 14 tickets simultaneously. And those 14 tickets, you'll get to the front of that line at that metaphorical bakery at different points, as long as you have enough tickets pulled. But you got to pull the ticket.
Yeah.
You got to get the thing in motion. So while I'm trying to get my kitchen remodeled and do my next documentary and come up with my next T-shirt design and come out with my newest flavor of mangria or whatever it is, it's got to be in motion. You got to pull that ticket. And time passes quickly. Like, you were staring at that ticket when it was $9.99 and you heard the guy shout out 3. You'll fucking blink your eyes and he'll be $9.91, you know, and you'll be like, oh shit, we're there. Like, but meanwhile, you have all these other tickets that you pulled and all these other bakeries that are going on. So pull that ticket and get that thing out there, even if it's way out around the corner. Have stuff, you know. I just got a memory stick that has 55 minutes of my next documentary on it that I took home yesterday. And it's like, oh, we're already almost an hour into the next doc. But we were working on it when we were working on the last doc. You know, like, it's just pull all those tickets and get started. And don't, I think a lot of people just kind of stand around and go, well, should I pull the ticket? I don't know. It's so far away. What'd the guy just yell? He yelled 7. 7? It's $9.99. Let's fucking pull it and get going. And that's about it. But pull a whole bunch and get in line, but get in a whole bunch of lines.
Yeah.
And that's kind of it.
Is this what you're going to do forever now? Is this pirate ship that you heard, and I heard you refer to it as a pirate ship a number of times, but is this, could you be content doing this, doing your podcast, you have like 9 podcasts, and then just doing projects that you find you're passionate about? Or do you need something bigger?
I don't have any, I don't think about it.
Really?
No, I literally.
This would be like where you're at in life, just to make your own content and no one be able to tell you what the fuck to do. Yeah. That's the goal I look at. Like, I go, that's it.
I like it. And, you know, I don't know how to navigate life other than to get up and pull that ticket and get going. And I have no idea where this is going to end. I don't know how much. You don't have control over all aspects of life. There's horrible car crashes and things like that, This has been good, and it's been a good ride, and it's been a lot learning lesson, a lot to learn, and a lot of calories burnt, and a lot of wasted calories that I never really look at as wasted calories, just going down a road that doesn't really have an outlet and going, all right, well, don't go down that road again, like discovering what things are. But I had Barry Katz, who's Jay Moore's manager.
Bert Kreischer was my manager for a long time.
Manager. And Barry just came up to me and he's like, "What's the plan, man?" And I said, "Why? No plan." And he said, "You don't have a plan?" And I said, "No." He said, "Don't you want a plan?" And I said, "No, I never thought about it." And then I started getting a little like self-conscious, like maybe I should have a. What, does everyone else have a plan? So I know, like, guys like Jim Carrey, like, I cut myself a check for $10 million. I looked over. I parked my Camry on top of Mulholland. I looked down, and I said, one day, you people are all going to know. Yeah. And I wrote that check. And it's like, oh, maybe I should maybe Barry's right. I should have some sort of plan. But I don't. My plan is go to work.
Half of Barry's things he says to you, he's saying to himself.
Maybe that's it. Maybe he thought that maybe he wanted me to think he had a plan that I could utilize by giving him 15% or something. But I just remember, no, I don't have a plan. I get up and I get going.
Yeah.
Every day, and every day is something else, and that's the plan.
Dude, well, thank you so much for doing this, Adam. I really appreciate it, man.
Thanks, Bert. Appreciate being appreciated.
Hey, do you mind if I shoot video for my vlog? Yeah. Okay. I'm obsessed with content right now, and so I'm doing a daily vlog. This episode was brought to you by The Machine.